video, you're going to see this column wrapped. You obviously want to get really precise measurements, top to bottom, especially around the width right now. So I'm going to take a flexible tape measure. This one's from Yellow Tools. Get a measurement right now. Billy prints it up, and this is a textured wall film right now. And obviously, want to make sure that the trimming right now is on point in the sense that I want to do a lot of trimming myself on this because there's going to be a direct overlap on the surface. So cleaning with alcohol, make sure it's super clean top to bottom. Once it's cleaned and prepped, it's really important right now. Take the time to get it right. So I dropped the panel top to bottom and see that it was a little too long top to bottom. So I put a magnet right there because this column is metal. So I'm going to trim it off and make sure that I have just enough top to bottom, but not, obviously too little, because the chance of this column, this panel kind of dipping down kind of towards the floor, towards the ceiling is really high. So you want to make sure you have enough. Don't go super clean and tight to the top and bottom because you can learn, you might regret it. So right now, obviously you want to start and have an overlap point. I'm going to do it on the corner that is least visible from everyone in the office. Everyone's generally sitting in the opposite direction. So that's a good tip for the overlap. And then once I feel like I have the right position, using this dual cutter from Yellow Tools right now, to cut off a swath of the backing paper. So just a really good hinge, because you wanted to create a vertical hinge on this type of column right now. Obviously, if you go side to side, it'd be miserable. So once everything's set, really important to make sure that that overlap, that edge, is super straight and it curves around just enough, because I want to have about, I don't know, in this case, it's going to overlap by about a ½ inch. I'm going to cut it off later, as you'll see. So once I get it set with the hinge, lock it in top to bottom, it's going to have that little extra material that kind of wraps around. So I put on the application glove and a little bit of heat. In this case, I'm using a cordless heat gun, produces just enough heat and don't have to worry about the electrical cord, which is nice. Now with the permanent hinge set, it's about pulling the backing paper. Always be super careful on columns, pulling it nice and even. But because the permanent hinge was so strong, it didn't jump off the surface, which is nice. Having platforms really strategically placed can come in handy, so I had two platforms that I could stand on and go from side to side. Really important on the transition points at the bottom, that extra material that I was talking about. Make a relief cut so it can swing around the corner, and then obviously it keeps it going straight. Run my glove around the corner. Always important not to use your squeegee there. You want to get a nice good form seal on that corner, and then just go back to the flat. Nice and easy and straightforward. It starts to get a nice repetitive feel, making those relief cuts to come around the corner. And then now that we've rounded all 4 corners, we get to the point where it's going to register. So you can see I make that final relief cut, and it's going to swing around this backside. So very standard techniques. And right now I'm just trying to make sure that it registers pretty close. The chance of getting pixel to pixel registration on a column is really tricky. I guess if you really, took the time to do it, you pay off. But right now you can see that it's pretty close, but it's just not pixel to pixel like I would normally get on a wall. So I want to show a good tip of how to neutralize this by being a little clever right now and taking advantage of what's in the print right now, which is an aquarium. So I see that the overlap is actually going to kind of fold around a little more than I prefer. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to just lock it in place now that I got the game plan, and I'm going to put knifeless tape about a ¼ inch just on the other side. So that's how wide the overlap is going to be after I cut off the knifeless tape. So beforehand I thought it was a little too wide with that overlap, and it would look okay, but the registration would be slightly off. So by making the overlap a little smaller, but still big enough to hold for the long term, watch what I do. I'm going to cut it off at the bottom and trim everything top and bottom so it's nice and clean. That's a tuck and cut. Make sure I go over the overlap with heat so it's just locked in super solid. But what I was thinking is, generally in an aquarium, when you're looking at it, you got the 4 corners, which kind of distorts the image. So I thought, I'm going to come in with a black stripe, in this case mold and hold, and go from top to bottom and put it on all 4 corners. Now, I actually think that made it look really good, but in this case right now, I'm putting it right over the registration point right now, and as soon as the mold and hold goes over that, now it looks pixel to pixel. It was close before, but now with the mold and hold, it kind of hides it, but then overall in the design scheme, I think it actually makes it look really good. So by having it on all 4 corners, it looks symmetrical, looks nice and even, but I kind of neutralize that hot point in the registration. And here's a good close-up of the final result. So I love the transformation of this column, super creative idea. Basically the world's skinniest, longest aquarium, which is awesome. And again, this is the power of wrap. So being super creative with the design process, but also the install, and you get really cool stuff like this in a short amount of time. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. Justin Pate.